Hello world! If you are new to our channel, my name is Brett Adams from the One Family One World channel. We are a family of 5 traveling the world. Started in Central America, made our way south to South America. We're in Peru now and looking forward to also heading across the Pacific. Thanks for stopping by. So our time in Peru. We spent most of our time in Peru in the Sacred Valley. This is a very famous part of Peru, known for its Incan sites, and we were excited to see those. And also, of course, Machu Picchu, the Incan city of Cusco. So lots of beautiful Incan ruins around. And Ollantaytambo was built by the Incan Emperor Pukapukara, and it has some of the famous Incan terraces, also temples, spots for storing grain and storing other food, living quarters as well. And one of the most impressive of Ollantaytambo is seeing where the stone was quarried and how far it had to come. And of course the incredible Incan stonework. The Incas were just masters of stone. The Incas put all of these stone temples together, their stone walls together, by dry stacking. So the walls are all built with no mortar. The stones are a mix of concave and convex, so they fit well together, and they're stacked with the walls leaning towards the inside with earth behind them, so they're very strong and stable. Amazing architecture.
It fits like a puzzle. That one's slanted, and then so is the other one. And then that one's straight, and then that one's flat.
Here are the rocks. And here's the quarry. So the Incas quarried the rocks from this mountain, brought them down across the valley, and back to this point. Incredible, huge pieces of stone, perfectly fit together.
No mortar.
How do we make tea? I don't know.
Traveling through the Sacred Valley, it's hard not to have your mind blown all the time. You're surrounded by these very tall mountains, and the Inca terraced the mountains for farming almost to the summit. So as you're looking around at 10, 11, 12,000 foot peaks, they are all terraced. So these stone walls are still visible after hundreds of years. Some of them are still being used by local people who are farming, although not at the very top. Salineras is a salt harvesting area. There is a spring that flows out of a mountain at about 33% salinity, nearly 4 times that of the ocean. And the Incas were the first to harvest the salt, where they would let the water flow into a pool, and then slowly the water would evaporate, leaving the salt behind. This has been expanded greatly over time, and now there's about 5,500 pools owned by 428 families who harvest the salt and then export it around the world. This is a major source of their income, and now tourism as well, showing this process. So pretty amazing seeing all the salt pans at Salineras.
Gonna take a taste?
I can't breathe. It's way saltier than the ocean. Is it salty? No,
It's really neat how you can see the crystals like starting to separate on the surface of the water.
And forming.
Moray has the terraces that are so prevalent at many Incan sites. However, these are circular or semicircular and descend down in a pit. There's 3 different pits, one 12 levels deep and 2 7 levels deep, and it's been determined that Moray was an Incan laboratory. The Inca were brilliant farmers and had thousands of varieties of potatoes able to grow at different elevations and different temperatures, and Moray was a laboratory where they worked on that. Like many other travelers to the Sacred Valley region, we wanted to visit Machu Picchu. Getting to Machu Picchu is a little bit of logistics. You need to get yourself to Ollantaytambo, then you need to take a train to Aguascalientes, and from Aguascalientes you can either hike up, which some people do, or most people take the bus. So you take a bus up to Machu Picchu, to the entrance, and from there, you still have quite a bit of hiking to get up to the city complex. The train is a lot of fun for families, so the cabins are comfortable. There's a few different options, but we traveled the most basic option, and it was still great. Comfortable leather seats and tables in front of us, so the kids had fun playing cars and goofing around on the train.
My car's kind of stinky. One car?
Like your
Thank
feet.
you. Hey! We're moving now! Yeah!
We're moving to Machu
Yay!
Sir, can you say Machu Picchu?
Machu Picchu.
As we were checking into our hotel in Aguas Calientes, the clerk was talking to us about getting up to Machu Picchu. He recommended being in line for the bus at no later than 4:20 a.m.
4:20 in the morning. We got our crew in line for the Machu Picchu bus. How you doing? Did you enjoy sleeping in this morning?
After we got through the gate with the hordes of people, we started our way up towards the city complex. Because we had purchased tickets to be able to climb Machu Picchu mountain, we didn't go into the city first, but made our way to that mountain. There's two different mountains that overlook Machu Picchu mountain, that overlook Machu Picchu. One being Machu Picchu mountain, of course, and the other Huayna Picchu. Machu Picchu mountain is much higher, but it is a little bit of a less scary hike. Huayna Picchu has some sheer drop-offs and some cables that you need to hold on to during the climb. Not recommended for small kids.
Sawyer, where are we gonna go?
We're going to do Machu Picchu down here.
Oh.
Sawyer had some intestinal difficulties on the hike, so partway up, Erica and Sabine and Sawyer decided to turn around and head back down, and Siri and I continued on to the summit. It was still quite a long hike, thousands and thousands of steep steps to get up there. Machu Picchu mountain is about 2,000 feet taller in elevation than Machu Picchu itself, and so when you finally top out at the summit, you're over 10,000 feet.
Made it to the top of Machu Picchu mountain. Looking down on the city. Made it to the top, Machu Picchu mountain.
Got to see a bunch of alpacas and llamas that are hanging out all over the Machu Picchu.
I'll take a picture of the three of you.
Yeah, sure.
Oh. He's taking a rest.
Okay.
Time for Llama to take a lap.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Bye-bye, Llama.
Llama's all done sleeping.
Depending on your sources, the Inca built between 15 and 30,000 miles of paved roads through the empire. And of course, there was a paved road leading up to Machu Picchu. But they wanted to protect this high city, so after the pathway traverses the sheer cliff, it just abruptly ends. And there's about a 15 or 20 foot break in the path. Between that break, the Incas placed a few logs that were removable.
Here's the famous Incan bridge, just a couple logs covering this span, and then who knows, 1,000-foot drop to the valley floor.
Cusco is the heart of the Incan Empire, and it is a really interesting city from that perspective because, of course, it was conquered by the Spanish, who destroyed almost every Incan thing they could find, but the Spanish knew that the Incas were incredible stonemasons, so they left the foundations to many of the Incan temples and buildings and built their own churches and buildings on top of those foundations. So all around Cusco, you can see this incredible Incan stonework, the perfect dry fit, large stonework, and then on top of that, a typical looking European colonial church. The San Pedro market in Cusco is a great spot to check out. There's a lot of local vendors selling produce, of course, and meats and manufactured goods. And also there's a lot of lunch vendors that are in there. They were fascinated by seeing our young kids. So it was really a welcoming spot to go as a family. The girls had a great time eating chicken soup with this soup vendor. And also I found probably the largest loaf of bread I've ever seen. And Sawyer enjoyed wearing that as a hat and eating it.
Sawyer, is it good?
Cusco was the heart of the Incan Empire, and so it makes perfect sense that there's a lot of Incan sites around Cusco. There's a number of different ones you can visit, but a cool way you can do it is to take a taxi out of town to Tambomachay, which is the fourth on this road, and you get dropped off at Tambomachay, and then you hike your way back to Cusco. It's about a 2-hour walk, and you can visit probably 6 different sites along the way. We visited 4, and it's a fun way to spend the afternoon. Tambomachay is thought to be a military outpost or a spa for the Incan elite, or perhaps both.
Your face? No.
Pukapukara is a military outpost. It had a bit of a high point sitting on a hill, and it allowed the Inca to look out for possible invaders coming into the city of Cusco. Qenqo is a little different because it is a religious location or a holy site. It has an interesting tunnel-like entrance to get into it, and it's thought to be a spot where there were sacrifices performed and mummification.
This is probably where they would pray.
Sachsayhuaman was the next site that we went to. This was basically a city in and of itself outside of Quito, but also a massive military fortress with these large walls, and it contains the largest stone blocks that have yet to be discovered in any Incan site. Of course, Machu Picchu gets all the glory for Incan sites, but Pisac is very incredible and in some ways more impressive than Machu Picchu. Now, it does not have the amazing, beautiful mountain backdrop that Machu Picchu has, but it is significantly larger than Machu Picchu, with more terrace work for farming, a number of temples and residences. So Pisac was really amazing to see.
This is the house that I think they used for housing and storage.
Okay.
And
Want to show us around?
yes. Yeah, your camera.
Okay, great.
Come on. So we think the fire was there, or on top of that rock. And we think the shelves were used for like food.
Many people visit the Pisac Ruins complex but don't actually see Pisac. And the reason for that is it's so big. And the Pisac section of the complex is quite a walk. You can either traverse across the large terraces, or you can follow the ridge that goes through a number of different dwellings and buildings and temples, and eventually drop down to Pisac. We did that ridge walk, and boy, was it fascinating. Went through the Temple of the Sun and also through a tunnel into another temple, and then dropped down to see the actual Pisac ruins.
So here we go. Watch your head. Wow. Coming through the Incan tunnel. Whoa.
The main temple complex in the large Pisac Ruins is a great example of that Incan stonework. Beautifully cut pink granite, dry stacked together, perfect joints everywhere, no mortar. It's just mind-blowing. I mean, how did they do this? And it also had a nice feature of those rounded corners that the Incan were famous for putting in holy sites and buildings that they really valued.
Incan irrigation channel. Still running with water after all these years.
From the Pisac village or the actual Pisac ruins, you need to get back out somehow. Now you can go back kind of the way you came and take a bus or a taxi back down into the modern town of Pisac, or you can continue on like an Incan and traverse more terraces and cross a few bridges and walk back down the steep hillsides into the modern town. And that's what Erica chose. So we had a big hike in front of us, but it was beautiful and the kids did a great job and we made it.